And welcome back from that rather long or short break. Glad you are still watching the Distat podcast here at the Africa Inclusive Conference 2023. And we are bringing you these amazing conversations. I am your host, Alan Herbert. And yeah, here with another guest. And I do not want to take more or to eat into any of your time. I want to give the opportunity to the guest to introduce himself and also to tell us a little bit about himself and also how come on a Wednesday evening, he is at the Radisson Blue.
Thank you, Alan.
Yes.
Rarely do I, or maybe it's not a common place for me to be, but everybody significantly who is converging here today,
Yeah.
they are here for a purpose. The main goal is inclusivity,
Yeah.
inclusion, and incorporating all aspects of diversity. I was shocked. I don't want to really comment much about that, but I was shocked today to find how much of diversity was represented at the conference.
Yeah.
It's really a great show. So I'm also not left out. I'm here at Radisson Blue, and I've been here. This is the last day,
Yeah.
and it's an amazing experience. I'm here as a participant.
Yeah.
It's a US-based company, but we have branches in terms of we are branching out in terms of shipping and distribution centers across the world. So I'm the sales executive for participant, Africa, Asia, Middle East, and some part of Europe.
Yeah.
So my goal is to ensure that the wheelchairs that the company manufacture actually reach all the people who need them. We have been showcasing a very significant wheelchair called the Cab. Cab has won so many awards, at least one specific award in the US out of the clinical benefit associated with the product. And it's amazing how so much work can be put into a product to give the end user significant results. So with that said, I think the main reason why I'm here is courtesy of my company, Participant Assistive Products. We are looking into putting a distribution or rather assembly center in Kenya to enable end users or direct users to buy this product one-on-one. So it's Wednesday evening, and here I am.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Very rather interesting introduction there. For a minute, when you said participant, I thought you are saying participant in the conference, but the company is called Participant. As you're telling us your name, could you tell us a little bit of background on the name Participant? Why Participant?
Well, funny thing is when I checked in the first day, I told them they were asking me. I think the second day they're asking me, "Are you here as an innovator or as a participant?" No, and then I said I'm representing participant. And so they were giving innovators T-shirts.
Yeah.
And actually, I was also an innovator with my product.
Yeah.
And I went into the room, and everybody's wearing a T-shirt.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the hell is going on? But they're giving innovators T-shirts at the entrance. Yeah, I think they asked me that. The thing that I did wrong is
Yeah.
that I
You said-
mentioned my company's
Yeah.
name. And yeah, well,
This is
participant
hilarious.
is
Yeah.
it's a general term. That's why it brought that little confusion, because it's general but quite specific in terms of inclusion. For instance, the name is inspired by how we can democratize or we can put democracy into accessibility of people with disability so that they are able to participate in daily activities without really restraint. So the name is inspired by creating a community of belonging. And our logo, actually, it's meerkats.
Yeah.
And meerkats, their social style of
Animals.
coexisting
Yeah.
is usually they get together as a society.
Yeah.
So no one is left behind. So that's why the name participant has been inspired by that. That despite me having a physical disability, there could be a clinical research put into my condition, and a lot of development done along that side. That they produce a wheelchair-like hub to enable me as a user to be able to be free and have that democracy to participate in all aspects of my life.
Yeah.
So that's the inspiration behind the name.
Interesting there. I do not like to make these conversations about like interviews when
Yeah.
you go for a job interview, but allow me to ask, because we are 5 minutes into the conversation and the listener is wondering, who is this guy? Yeah, so tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I think when they ask me that question in interview, I might fail because I get overwhelmed about that.
Yeah.
I don't know how to write my own story. My dad passed away 2 years ago, and he said that he does not want to be eulogized. The reason why is nobody knew him well enough to speak when he's dead. So I don't know if I'm inspired by my dad's
Yeah.
nuggets of wisdom to really, I don't know. I'm really diverse.
Yeah.
I'm moving inspiration. I'm fighting battles like any other person do.
Yeah.
I'm human, but I love life.
Yeah.
About me is that I love life, especially after discovering that life is not a straight line. It's
Yeah.
up and down. So partly I started off walking. I was born walking.
Yeah.
Then slowly, after my class 8, around 2007, I was a footballer.
Yeah.
Around 2007, I lost mobility in my lower limbs. Imagine, Alan, you wake up one day, you cannot walk. You never had an accident.
Just like that.
Just like that. You want to stand up, and your legs
Just refuse. They are not responding.
completely. And you don't know what the hell is happening here. So I got frustrated at that point and asked myself, why? And what is it? And then the society, especially African Kenyan society, because I'm a Kenyan, I'll speak from where I come from. They want to brand things with. I think this is a limitation because we need research. Just because I cannot explain something, it does not mean that it's witchcraft or it's inspired by spirits. So they branded my condition as if it's a bad omen. I lost friends. And so I was so much into isolation before I moved into high school. At that point, they tried getting medication and finding out what it was. But unfortunately, the Kenyan medical system could not ascertain what was happening. As a matter of fact, one of the physiotherapists, I think he was just not a physiotherapist, he was a drunkard. That physiotherapist,
Those are heavy words. Those are heavy words, my brother.
he was, because he predicted that I cannot live beyond 25 years. All right, I just celebrated my 31st year, January. And I did not know the basis to which.
He had best of that.
Maybe
that
he was
prediction.
just drunk. Now you understand what. Now you understand what I'm talking about.
I fathom what you're talking about.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So when I used to be a dramatic person. I used to be in drama in primary. I used to be chaotic.
Yeah.
My stepbrother branded me Osama. You know Osama bin Laden?
Yeah.
That's how he used to call me because of how chaotic I was in terms of drama and causing chaos. Then when I lost my leg, it was like, hey,
You
pace
have-
down. It was like, go to that your corner and rethink. So at high school, I started that, in Kenya we call it kieherehere, that up and down thing with my wheelchair. I was all over. Then one of my teacher called me, Joyland Special Secondary School, and she told me that, listen, you can't walk, you can't run, you can't do anything that is physical. The only thing you got is,
Your brain.
wow. I went into that corner and thought, what if I can't be number one like my best friend who left me in primary? And then I realized it's possible. In Joyland, and I can confidently say this in the audience, I became number one all the way to Form 3. At Form 3, I lost track because of some lady somewhere. But if only that
Why
lady who
are
not,
you blaming your failures on a
if
woman?
only she was pretty, if only she had not appeared, if only she had not appeared,
You would have remained focused.
I would have been number one all the way to Form 4. But that was a very great invention
Yeah.
that I can be the top of my class.
Yeah.
I say, wow, there's so much I can do. So that's the story of how I became serious with my academic life.
Yeah.
Went to United States University, USIU, did a course in criminal justice
Criminal justice.
and psychology.
Oh my goodness.
It's funny how I am doing
Marketing.
sales and
Sales-
marketing.
Definitely
and,
psychology.
and I learned mostly sales on the job and did a few certifications there. But my passion was to become a CID. And one person said, you're very good at investigation, but the only one problem, you talk too much. So that's how I lost the job,
Yeah.
apparently.
Did you try practicing?
I did volunteer work within the criminal justice system.
Yeah.
I volunteered at Committee Maximum Prison. I was working with inmates who are physically challenged
Yeah.
to help them, first of all, realize what they are struggling with in prison. And upon being released, we reduce the rate of recidivism so that we do not end them going back to prison.
Yeah.
Because some people love prison more than outside
Being free.
world.
Yeah.
I would say at some point I had that. At some point I was thinking, and a friend of mine called, life is tough right now. So a friend of mine told me that, I've slept hungry for 2 days. And I'm thinking, those people in prison, they have security, they have food.
Yeah.
Should I go? I tell them, if you think that's a good plan, how long do you want to stay in prison? I could tell you the kind of crime you committed and you got to stay there for as long as you want. But that was on a lighter note.
Yeah.
So I was in Committee Maximum Prison as a mentor for inmates.
Yeah.
I did that both at Committee Maximum and Minimum Prison with an organization called Nafisika Trust on voluntary basis. And then at that point, something caught my eye because I realized that there are actually people with disability in prison. How did they get there? How did they get there? They actually committed these crimes while they were in wheelchair or in the state of disability. It's not like they were shot at that point of being disabled. No. It's like I decided to do it. Then I realized then, as a human being, as a person with disability, I'm capable of anything. I
Even
have
committing crime.
even committed. Interesting story.
Interesting story indeed.
Remember, I've graduated. This is now on the last stage of my graduation. I am hoping that I get a job. So I decide not that I'll try my best to get a job, but then what happens is I don't get a job. And right now I have all the theories, not practicals,
The theories in
of
your head.
criminal justice system, how to counter what, how to counter all this and I'm like, what am I doing with all this knowledge? I want to do my own. If the government is not going to hear me, I'm going to do my own sort of criminal gang. I'm confidently saying this and it's on purpose.
Yeah.
So that I want to organize this gang in a very secretive manner that the government will take too much time to understand what is going on. And then when they realize how big this group is, they realize, wow, this guy is actually the guy. That was around 2016. I'm living with my sister. I'm on wheelchair. I'm frustrated. I have all the papers. I want a job. No one wants to hold my hand. Yeah. So out of that frustration, I decided I'll do that. But I thank God because 2 weeks on the planning stage, I got a call that you have received a job from Naivasha through a friend. And I'm like, you've done it. People with disability, it's not that they're not capable. I just told you I was number one all through.
Up until the rain started beating you.
Yeah. But how much more can I do? So about that, I realized that I could actually get a job. Now I started focusing. I began as a data entry clerk
Yeah.
with the company.
Yeah.
And I love marketing and sales. So gradually developed my skills. And here,
Allow me take you back, Mr. George. You refuse to tell our listeners the name, but let me say it, Mr. George.
oh, George Simba. I told you I talk too much. Yeah.
Allow me take you back to the story where you are volunteering in the prison system. I had an opportunity to talk to a police officer or a person who works in the security apparatus, and I was asking them of the status of inclusion in that particular space. When you talked to the inmates, then what sort of did they tell you motivated them to commit these crimes, and how were they handled? Because what in my many encounters with the security officers, they would always tell me, just because you're white does not mean that we cannot take you to the cell. Yeah, so that made me be woke that at any time ndani.
Unaingia.
But the guys you interacted with,
Yeah.
what was the genesis of them creating or committing other crimes?
Well, just like any other human, the trigger is the same. There are many theories around that.
Yeah.
Probably I've forgotten all of them by now because I don't practice.
Yeah.
But the point is, like the state of affair. Imagine I'm normal Kenyan trying to put food on the table. How difficult that is for now.
Yeah.
They are completely down. They don't know where the next meal is going to come from. Mark you, this is somebody who is physically fit. How much is that burden to someone on a wheelchair or a blind person somewhere or someone who is completely limited by some physical difficulties? How much is the burden even bigger? And so Alan, I want you to know that these people in the prison sector, they are human before disability. There was a time there was some terror attacks. Westgate Mall was a sad incident, really. And I was moving around with a friend of mine. He's called Kevin. Very good friend of mine. He likes wheeling me. At that point, I was using a wheelchair. And so the security system at the mall was really serious at that point. I think we used all the malls, especially in Nairobi. They used to have like 3 checkpoints. But when Kevin brought me in with a car and then he was wheeling, the security guard was like, mkubwa, wewe pi?
Peter.
And Kevin was like, huyu sasa ndio amebeba bomu. This is now the guy.
Yeah.
Because you think that stigma of a person with disabilities incapable of is what brings all the stigma in life. Because what will I get in return when somebody sees me like that? Sympathy. This guy is sympathizing with me from what he's seeing physically. But he does not know what resides inside me as a person. All right? So I love the conference today because you've asked about those in prison. They are human beyond the physical disabilities that we see there. So I found out that almost 90% of them actually did commit these crimes before coming into prison. You understand? Some of them were shot maybe at the point of crime, and then they acquired that disability. Some of them accidentally got the accident while committing the crime. Or they were beaten to the point they became disabled. Mob justice or something. But 90% of them were normal people with disability committing this crime. So, and this is also with the employment sector. And I really love companies like Participant that think of my qualities first and then, wow, he's also disabled. That's a plus. We are passionate about inclusion. He has the skills, but wow, this is great. So I want us to have that conversation of who is this person? I'm George, like you asked me. Tell us about you, because on the show I am wearing a white shirt and a trouser, and there's my crutches here. What's inside me?
We cannot really see.
And Mother Teresa once said, if you look at people and judge them, then you have no time to love them. I don't care the type of judgment, positive or negative.
You've judged.
Already. So you have no chance, you're already blinded. If I walk into an interview room and you are the interviewer and you are just seeing my physical limitation or disability, you say, oh, so what happened? I think I've talked about crime and stuff a lot. Now let me talk about the Bible shortly. This guy who Jesus was preaching, and so this guy was brought. You know our guy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Alan, this guy, their people demanded that they bring him through the rooftop because they knew he was going to get physical healing, because Jesus was able to do that. And then, unfortunately or fortunately, when that trolley or whatever the thing they were bringing him with down, Jesus sees the person, and what he says, young man, your sins are forgiven. And so people are frustrated. It's in the Bible. Apart from being number one in Joyland, I was the head boy, and I was also the CU chairperson until that girl came.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Jesus brought in this person. You know, the people who brought this person to Jesus. And Jesus says, you know what, your sins are forgiven.
Forgiven.
And so they are frustrated because that is not why
They
we
were
brought
there.
our guy. Look, we brought our guy so that you heal him. So that he stands up and walk.
Walks, yeah.
And so Jesus looks at the human eye and asks, look at you. Which one is important? To say your sins are forgiven, or to say stand up and
Walk.
how about, you know, if you ask me, you will think that the greatest gift you can give me is to make me stand up and walk. But I think it's bigger than that. If Jesus would have done the mistake of not forgiving, which he could not have done because he's a son of God, and he does not make mistakes, that's my faith, so forgive me. If he could not have healed him of his sins before healing him physically, and let that young man walk away with his sins, he would have done a zero job. So that's what I really feel about people with disability in terms of how can we transform them. And I love the fact that we can do that from the inside out through conversations.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Interesting there. Interesting. And how do you make the transition? When the call came for the job in Naivasha, how quick did you decide there is nothing for me in the criminal justice system? There is nothing for me, but now I am willing to take a totally different turn in my life. You spent money, or your family spent money, to take you to good schools, Joytown, then to USIU. Those are some good schools. But then you're like, okay, it has not worked. I need to do something totally different.
Yeah.
How do you make that switch?
When I sleep hungry for 2 days. And
But good thing you did not think about committing a crime. So
yeah, when I sleep hungry for 2 days.
yeah,
And I have to earn a living. You know, I have the skills. Look how many doctors are running businesses. I have the skills of meeting people and interacting with people, creating network. Then why don't I venture into sales and marketing, do certification? I think I am not saying the university degree is not relevant.
Yeah.
It is the genesis to which, and I'm a believer in education because it's the foundation to which you branch out into
into different things into
possibilities.
life.
Yeah. So honestly speaking, transition is when I got angry.
Before even you continue, I like what you said, possibilities.
Yeah.
Our company
Yeah.
is called AL Concepts, and our model or our motto is molding possibilities.
Wow.
So when anybody says about anybody says possibilities, I just feel overjoyed because those are letters that mean a lot.
Thank you.
Th-
Glad to
there's
hear
so
that.
many things that are possible when you set out to do.
Thank you.
You're called to Naivasha. What next?
Yes. I'm called to Naivasha. Well, Naivasha is a great place. I don't know if you've been to Naivasha.
A couple of times for conferences like these ones.
Oh, yeah. You
Yeah.
should come for Safari Rally as well.
Oh. All
Get
right.
some Subaru boys and let's go to Naivasha. Well,
Yeah.
Naivasha was a strategic place where the company called us.
Is it still participant?
No, it's not. But I can't mention that because now I'm working for participants. so
Absolutely.
I'll. The company called us and we have a group of pioneers to venture into the digital space, especially in creating jobs for people with disability. It was a great mission. I was there for like 4 years. But then since we were a startup, there were room to position yourself on where you think you want to fit. And so I think I realized sales and marketing is my thing. And so after that, we moved into Nairobi. And from Nairobi, I got all those connections, and then participant needed someone to take over their sales. I applied for the job, and by grace of God, they saw beyond my disability and gave me the opportunity. Mark you, and Alan, mark you, this is a chance I got when I was jobless. The Naivasha opportunity ended. And then maybe at some point we will need to talk about this in details at some point. Because there's so much more about disability community. I love participant. When I read the online website, I love the fact that these people are not just in business for business. We have WHO certified personnel here who is able to follow up with wheelchair users to see the clinical benefits and how that is auguring well with them.
Yeah.
So Naivasha was a learning page. I appreciate the process.
Yeah.
After Naivasha, I got hungry again. But I'd promised not to think the criminal side. So I was with my brother for a while, and here I am, back to the city.
And then participant came calling.
Yes. Yes.
Tell us about USIU, United States International University, or probably one of the affluent, if not the most affluent university in Kenya and Africa. And anybody who is who probably takes their children there. And anybody who wants or who is of some status in the country, they will want to take their child there. How was it for you?
I think every time you mention a topic, I feel like I need a whole 2 weeks to.
to cover it. We can scratch on the ground. This is a very big platform. We can always have you again.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
USIU was amazing. That's the basic of description.
Yeah.
My dad inspired me to apply. I was called at KU,
Yeah.
and my dad had no money. So I don't know why even he was telling me to apply. So he told me to apply, and if push comes to shove, then he can sell the land.
But he said you must go to USIU.
I must. And he told me to go for criminal justice. So he was my buddy, and I didn't want to go to start fighting with him. So I said, "You're the boss." But I believe in God. Not the Mackenzie style, but I'm not a staunch faith person.
Yeah.
But logically speaking, some things must be God. So USIU first, I am not the who's is who in Kenya. Probably you might have heard about our family somewhere around the corners of Nairobi.
Yeah.
So it was by grace of God that I found myself there, and I got very good support system. And I met a guy called Edgar. Edgar, I think, is in charge of. By then, he was administrative officer, and he was in charge of admissions. Edgar was instrumental towards my finishing school at USIU. I arrived, back then I was having a plastic wheelchair. I arrived there with a plastic wheelchair, and people are arriving with private jet. Orientation. What is happening? What's happening? What?
People coming with private jets.
Here I am, son of a Simba, with my
With your plastic wheelchair.
You know that wheelchair, right?
Yeah.
At some point, you must have seen it. Ah, man. And I have 1,000 pocket money. Daddy saying, "Ye pesa, make sure you use it well up to the end of the month." So I arrived. We did some fundraising as family, and I got some 70K.
Yeah.
So Dad says, I think 30K, use it for accommodation, 50K fees. So I go to admission and I give them that breakdown. And they say, young man, we don't operate like that.
You wanted to take a simple operations to
We don't do that here. Here you don't tell us how to divide the money. You pay the whole fees while you enter the admission, and then we sort you.
we will tell you how we'll spend the money, not you to tell us.
So, man. He told me,
Okay.
are you on scholarship? I said, no, but I hope to get one. So, briefly, USIU, this is how it went. I am so vibrant, greeting people with my wheelchair. I think back then I was moving easily with my crutches. And I have these people loving and supporting me, and it's a very good community. And so what happened, I promised them that I'll clear my fees by Friday. But
So they admitted you with your 80,000.
I told them I'll bring the money on Friday. That is trying to sell land back at home. What's wrong with you guys?
Yeah.
I cannot go back to Kisumu. At least you give me somewhere to sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they look at me and say, where end orientation? Urud. And they gave me an accommodation room inside the hostel. Isn't that God? Now the second problem that I had was 1,000 pocket money that my dad gave me, and I need to budget with it for a whole month.
week.
So I go into the cafeteria in the morning, and I see, not cafeteria, there was a cafe latte, which was closer to the hostels. And then cappuccino and these strange drinks you guys are calling milk and sugar, you mix them and give them very strange names. I'm seeing on the menu there weird names. But which one is tea? The 250, we're talking a cup of tea, and it's a very respectable cup of tea.
And you're supposed to hold on to that money for a whole month.
Man,
Or a
150 is gone on just a cup of tea.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, man, this can't happen. Give me that thing that looked like bread. I didn't know it. I think it was some croissants or something. By now, I don't know. Give me that thing that looked like bread. And a liter of Sprite. And then I go back with it to my room. Kumbe ni kungumu hivi huku.
So did you get finally the school fees on Friday?
Edgar.
Ah,
He calls me, he's the admission guy.
yeah. Edgar comes through for you.
In a very big way, in a godlike way. Let me
Yeah.
tell you how. He comes to me and he tells me that, hey, look, you are to pay fees by now. I'm like, no, dad hajapata pesa. So you have to go home. But before you go home, take this letter. I read this letter, and this letter is written as if I'm the author. I, George Asimba, am struggling with financial aid. Do you like the story? I say, yes, sir. I want you to go and meet someone at the library with this letter. I won't say his name. I'll censor his name, but I arrive at the library, and I get his assistant, who I won't say his name as well.
Yeah.
He had some gold chains. His friend, not just assistant, but also friend. He had some USIU students might know him. It's like, Buddha, miss your boss. Boss atakuja. I'm like, this guy with golden chains should be the guy. And then he says, listen, when boss comes, give him the letter. When the boss arrived, I didn't notice he's the boss.
Did you have to wait until he came?
Because I was in need and the letter was here and I was told to wait. Or rather, I go home. And so this guy arrives. He's in jeans and simplicity. And this other guy tells me, here is the boss. Why are you not talking? I show him the letter. And he says, I'll pay your fees for 2 years and give you an electric wheelchair. If you score all A's in the first term, I'll get you an electric wheelchair. I remember what I did in high school before that guy. And
And you vowed not to do the same mistakes in your life.
all people in that campus, I don't see ladies. So I get all A's and I land the scholarship first through Edgar's miracle and
Yeah.
through this guy. And the second year, Edgar comes through in another way. But I want to tell you that USI was a very amazing experience. I vied for leadership position. I lost, but it was a great experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mean, you see, the power of trying,
Yes.
the power of trying and the power of believing. When you shared the story with your dad, and may he so rest in peace,
Sure.
what did he say?
Funny thing is, the guy at the library gave me money in cash. That was my first time to handle dollars. So
He
first,
gave you money in cash.
yeah, I hadn't touched a dollar before, and I didn't know how it looked like. So when he gave me the money in cash, it was a lot, but it looked so little because it was dollars.
Yeah.
And he tells me this money is enough to pay your fees and have some pocket change. Like this guy's kidding. So I go into the library washroom, I open my phone and do the conversion of how much I'm holding. And now everybody in that library is a thief. I am so careful. I am holding so much money I've never held.
How
I'm
much money
calling
was
Dad.
it?
Yeah,
How much money was it?
it was a lot.
That,
Enough for 2 years fee,
that was a lot.
and I got myself a laptop.
Are you trying to tell me that this guy gave you $1 million straight out of his pocket?
In dollars, it was a lot of money. It doesn't hit $1 million because I think it's
By that time, the dollar was still pretty strong.
and also the fees structure is not that high. I
Yeah.
don't think it will hit $1 million for 2 years.
Yeah.
But what I know is that I sorted out.
2 years of study.
Yes, completely. I had food. Now they have a card. I had my cafeteria card loaded with money. I will just go and order food with a swiping card.
Give me the coffee of
I
250.
need that one. And man, God has been great to me. I must appreciate.
Indeed.
The second year,
Yeah.
this guy apparently is a businessman and his business is struggling. I'm going home again.
Yeah.
And then this one I can mention. Edgar comes through to me through another person. At that point, Zara Moy was a student there,
Yeah.
the wife to Gideon Moy.
Yeah.
And so Zara Moy tells me that, listen, I've talked to Edgar, you are not going home.
A fellow student.
I met Junet Muhammad in class, and I'm like, I was so shocked because I only see him on TV.
Wait a minute, George.
Yeah,
Wait a minute.
I told you the USIU story, it's kind of big.
A fellow student at USIU
Yes.
told you, I've talked to Edgar, you're not going home.
Remember, we are not talking about just any student. I'm talking about Zara Moy here, the wife to Gideon Moy. I was campaigning against, I think, someone who was related to her, and she loved the fact that I was vibrant in campaign. And
Yeah.
Edgar also was a friend of him, and so I don't know how the magic happened. But now I was to go home because this my guy has run out of money because his business is not doing well.
Yeah.
And Zara tells me at that time we were going for World Cup.
This is 2010.
I think no, because it's around 2010.
2010 World Cup in South
Yes,
Africa.
yes,
Yeah.
that is it. So she's going for World Cup, and then she's saying, "I've talked to Edgar. Edgar is gonna sort you." No, it's not Edgar is gonna sort you. Edgar has a message for you. And I go to Edgar, and he hands over to me the rest of my 2 years fee, the rest of my 2 years eating plan.
Did Dad sell the plot of land?
Where I have the land. I have the land. He was to sell it on Friday, and that guy left, did not communicate by Friday. I was to go home.
Yeah.
And now just 2 people came through. So I would say that USIU was an interesting journey. And it made me realize that the world is out there to offer support, especially to, I don't want to say or believe I was getting support because of my condition. Because the first guy gave me
A merit. He gave
to
you a
a
target.
threshold that I must meet.
Yeah.
This other guy, the Zara Moy, she mentioned that she was super proud of how I was interacting. So as much as disability plays a factor, but me as a person,
You also had to show up.
thank you. Otherwise, the
It would
easiest
not-
way to get help as a person with disability is to go on the street
Yeah.
and beg. But for you to really be spotted, you must do extra, because
Yeah.
we are competing for the same opportunities
Absolutely.
with the mainstream
Absolutely.
other guys out
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
Meeting Junaid Mohammed in school. What was Junaid Mohammed doing in USIU?
We shared with him an Arabic class.
Yeah.
I tried French, and then they gave me
Was French for the ladies or it was just for studies?
you have to choose a foreign language.
Yeah.
So they gave me a magazine one day to read in French, and that was not really good. And so I was reading. I don't know why it was funny for the whole class, but they were laughing.
Yeah.
They were laughing. Every other line I was reading, and they were all laughing. I said,
Yeah.
"I'm not coming back to this French class. Let me go and try Arabic." To my shock, at least French, because Arabic,
You have to write from the,
I was
the
used
right
to writing from this side to this side.
You have to write from the right to the left.
Now these guys want to change my whole right. so I have already changed the course. I can't change again.
Yeah.
So I've jumped from the pan to the
To the
frying
fire
pan to the
itself.
fire.
Yeah.
Now I have to deal with Arabic. Whether I like it, at
Did you
least
learn how to write from the right side to the
I
left?
tried.
Yeah.
I tried. A good thing is the languages. You just need to have a credit.
Yeah.
So they were not grading you with the language. So I tried the basics, and at least I gave it my shot. But then I met Junet in that class. He was really great. But when I first entered the class, I saw him, and I was like, I told my neighbor, "Hey, do you know that guy? He's an MP." My neighbor was, I don't even remember that student. He's an MP, and he's always on TV. And I say,
Your neighbor did not even
he
care.
says, "I don't give an F." I'm like, "How don't you?" This is
Like, don't you get it?
this is
He is a legislator.
I only see him on TV. I'm like, I don't, because this guy maybe.
He was wealthy as well.
So it's an eye-opening for me to attend the school as well. I met connections, and I will say it's a ripple effect, because my contact person in Naivasha helped me secure the job because he thought I had the skills, and every other thing.
Connections.
Yeah. So I appreciate that experience.
Where is Edgar right now?
Edgar is still in USIU.
Edgar is still in USA.
Yeah. It's a long story, but
Yeah.
we humans, we tend to forget those who help us. And I am one person who forgot about Edgar that fast. But I am honest as well. I'm sorry, I'm honest. But that's the truth. Edgar helped me so much. And you know, there's this person you really don't know even how to reward them.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. The best you can do to these people is just say thank you. Those that just help you cross that journey. Edgar was significant
yeah.
to me to help me finish my school. And he was, I used to call him my dad of USI at some point.
Interesting. Interesting. Wow. I think you've dropped my jaws so far, and I honestly do not know where next we can take it. And we're also going too far into the evening.
Yeah.
I honestly do not like when we use disability as a tool of inspiration, but we can indeed be models, role models of people like us or even anybody else in the society to do better and even become better themselves. To somebody who might be going through a challenge right now, what would you tell them to be able to change their point of view, to make them feel relieved, to make them feel appreciated? What would you tell them?
Well, there is an African proverb
Yeah.
that every market has its own mad person. I think it's a Luo proverb. So, every human, translated directly, I would say every human has a disability. We have just been categorized by some men who went into a room and they say, George is now walking with crutches. Is going to be in this category. But every person is struggling with a disability, a limitation. It can be physical, it can be mental, it can be emotional, you know. So I will say for a fact, no one is not struggling. So I do not want to talk to someone with disability in the context of their disability. Get yourself up, reach out, do what you can do, because no one is coming to save you just because you are disabled.
Yeah.
I wish I could have made it much more soothing.
Soothing and soft.
You know, like life is a journey.
You're very brutal.
I used to do motivational speaking when I was in USIU part-time.
To make some quick buck.
I used to have a friend, I won't mention his name because of his brand. He used to do the motivational speaking too.
Yeah.
And one day he went to some sort of these groups of schools.
Yeah.
And he was going to give those rhyming words. You
Yeah.
can make it before you expire and stuff.
Yeah.
And then after the talk, which was really huge,
Yeah.
this person a student raised his hand and said, "You speaking huge, but I am driving a better car than those spoiled kids." Are you getting my point?
Yeah.
And so those are just motivation. But it was rude. But the guy came back and told me the story. I was like, man, I won't go back to this motivation. I might encounter another brutal student like that. But the point is, if I give them soothing words now, it's like I've not helped them. And that's, initially I used to do that. And I want to take this disability journey on a different angle.
Yeah.
On a brutally honest angle, with stakeholders, with individuals themselves. There's some aspect of honesty that we must engage in. And so I would say, no matter the condition you're going through, stand up, reach out, because no one is coming to save you. And I think we might need to engage more on this,
Yeah.
because there is so much to tell about that. No one is coming to save you.
All right. It is only that we are limited of time. But if we had all the time,
Thank you.
then definitely we'll be able to extend the conversation. But thank you very much for going out of the way, because it's late in the evening. You're supposed to be at home right now, probably resting. But making the time, I appreciate it. I do not want to subtract. I do not want to add. I do not want to multiply. He has said it all. There is nobody who is coming to save you. Reach out and stand up and run. Just take off. And just as him, when he went with 80,000 at USIU, probably you could go with your 80,000 to Harvard. I don't know how you'll get there, but you
Start
could
the
just
journey.
try.
Start
Yeah.
the journey.
You could just try and something might happen. That's all we've had for you for this conversation. Thank you very much for engaging, and see you in the next one.